Okay. Roll call.
Yes.
Downing.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
McConnell.
Here.
Meckes.
Here.
Remington is still. Townsend.
Here.
And Vanderbilt.
I am here.
Could I have a motion to adopt the consent calendar as it's presented or as amended?
So moved.
Second. Okay. And is there any discussion regarding the consent calendar? No? Now I'm supposed to, yes. Yes, Chief next.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
If he wants to.
Chief, could you give us discussion or respond to the 2 emails that were received?
I was thinking those were questions presented for the forum.
Yeah, I thought so too.
They
You'd
are.
like me to talk about it, but I can't.
But for some reason, I thought that the board kind of needed to hear the answer, but maybe not till the forum.
I can talk about it at the forum. I don't know. That's the issue sometimes with the forum is that they'll ask board questions that, I mean, you wouldn't know what the training is for a DRE or whether or not we cite for. But the answer is yes, we can cite. It's a violation of state code, the window tint. The front windows need to allow more than 70% of light through. But again, that's just something that but I'll address that. And then there's significant training that is involved with the drug recognition expert. And I had one of our DRE officers send me the information, so I'll have that available as well.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like we have a discussion about it.
No.
Okay. Could I have a vote to accept consent calendar?
Jensen.
Yes.
McConnell.
Yes.
Meckes.
Yes.
Townsend.
Yes.
Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Downing.
Yes.
Okay. We're going on to new business, and we can only discuss the items that are listed here. And so Laura Burgess is going to do a plan presentation.
I'm so excited to speak to you today. You think I know how this works, but I have handouts that I didn't put in the packet. So if you could each take one from the 2 piles, there should be plenty. And I'll sort of just stand over here, so that's okay, so I can address everyone. Yeah, I'm Laura Burgess on the Iowa City City Council, presenting to you today about our strategic plan that was just adopted in December of 2022. I want to speak a little bit to the process of the adoption of the plan and the alignment of this plan with some other planning that has been going on in our local region. And then I want to dig in on just a couple of things that are on your handouts. The whole plan itself is on the City of Iowa City's website, and it's at icgov.org/strategic plan. It's only 30 pages and has a good amount of pictures, so I encourage you to look at the whole thing, but I did not have that expectation for this evening. So to speak a little bit about the process of how this plan was adopted, the City Council has had strategic plans about every 2 years. So I'm starting my 4th year on council, so I've been involved in 2 processes. This year we decided to take a 5-year view rather than a 2-year view, just because, you know, as a strategic plan for the entire city, we thought let's look a little bit longer term than just 2 years. The last few iterations of the strategic plan prior to the one we're talking about tonight had been done through a staff-led process. I know earlier in the past there had been facilitators who had assisted in the development of the plan. This most recent plan, we brought in Karen Kurt, who's the executive director of the East Central Iowa Council of Governments. She also has experience working for municipalities as well. She's a local government expert, and she led us through a facilitated process over about 10 months with a wide variety of activities for the city council and city staff to come to the place of developing this plan. So I tell you that just because I think we feel very proud of the fact that we had a lot of intentionality and care in the adoption of this strategic plan. And then as to the alignment on sort of the back end, the plan itself, the structure of it, there's 3 values, which is the primary thing I think I want to talk about today. And then there's impact areas. The values apply to sort of everything within all of these impact areas. And then the plan talks to the resources that we have to be able to implement with sort of specific action items and resources that would be applied to each. But the alignment is with other plans that have been adopted recently in our region. So as we were going through the process of developing a plan for our specifically Iowa City community, and trying to take that really big picture view, because as a city council, we're talking about policy, right? And our staff are the experts who implement and carry out what's needed to follow the policy. We looked at the East Central Iowa Council of Governments Envision East Central Iowa Plan, which was a multi-year process in which that 7-county region brought in experts actually internationally to speak to all kinds of things that were happening in eastern Iowa, trends that we were seeing, challenges, changes, and really we're looking towards how to adapt and how to really make sure that eastern Iowa is best set for a future that is good for everyone. So we were looking at that plan. The Better Together 2030 vision is another regional plan that has recently been adopted and released, and the city has been collaborating with Better Together, which is an organization. It's now its own organization, but it had come out of COVID when we had government entities, the university, the schools, business leaders, a whole lot of folks who were impacted by the pandemic came together and said, we need to communicate better, we need to plan better, we need to cooperate, and we all do better when we do that together. And so from that came a community-wide, again, couple of year-long visioning process that has different pillars for providing sort of paths forward to our shared future in the community. So this plan is in alignment with those plans. We also took into account the Inclusive Economic Development Plan, which was developed through primarily Johnson County, but they had a consultant who assisted in developing an inclusive economic development plan. And so we're sort of using that lens also in how we can best benefit our community. So I think for you all as members of this board, thank you. Hi, Mandy. I just really wanted to speak about the values that we've identified, because every part of the work that the council does and what we expect staff to be executing on every day are informed by these 3 primary values. The page that has the color pictures is just pages 7 and 8 from the strategic plan document itself, and it goes into a little bit of depth about what these values are. I won't take the time to read it aloud to you, but I hope that you do take the time to read this page and a half, because these are really compelling, okay? This speaks to what we should be anchoring all of our actions and planning and policy making in. Those 3 values are racial equity, social justice, and human rights, climate action, and partnerships and engagement. And with those 3 values in mind for everything, we look at impacting 4 different impact areas: housing and neighborhoods, economy, safety and well-being, and mobility. So those are the areas in which we're looking to take action to improve our community and carry out the best services that we can. So on these, the second page that I provided for you, that's just the text. This is just a copy paste from the summary from the website itself, okay? But you see it's got these values right at the top. And underneath each impact area, there's strategies that we've identified for how we want to live out and carry out those values in each of those 4 impact areas of housing and neighborhoods, mobility, economy, and safety and well-being. So there's also a section about the resources, as I mentioned earlier, of how we, what we need to carry those out in terms of money, people, equipment, facilities, those kinds of things. So now I just turn it over to you with an understanding of these values, right? The racial justice, social equity, and human rights, climate action, and partnerships and engagement. And I hope that you can help just have a discussion of how you think this board can use, do your work through the lenses of those values and what you might be able to contribute as in carrying out this strategic plan.
Thank you.
Any input?
Well,
Thoughts?
on the social equity, one concern that I continue to have is affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
And my greatest concern is that the way it's set up, affordable housing is not affordable.
Right. Right.
The way it's set up, and another thing is with rent, we, the city, we give special breaks to developers to develop, and, with the understanding that they're going to have some affordable housing, and unfortunately that will only be for a certain amount of time,
Right.
and then it can revert back to any rent they wanted to have. I would like to see us continue the effort for affordable housing, but eliminate or grossly adjust that deal about the time frame that it has to stay affordable before it can, get crazy. I think that's one of the reasons that we're never going to catch up with affordable housing problem.
Yeah, I'm hearing two things there. One is that the affordability is maybe too high already, right? It's not really affordable for what we're calling affordable.
Right.
And then there's a time frame. And I can assure you the council is very sensitive to that, and we're always talking about ways that we can provide permanency in affordable housing, or we can, try and make bigger shifts in the market by doing something larger and more impactful. What we've been investing in affordable housing to date is not moving the needle, and we know that.
And it's not going to get any better. The 20% tax hike that just happened in the county alone all of a sudden just shafted anything that plan that you might have had, because I'm already hearing about the tax increases just even outside Johnson County.
Oh yeah, statewide, yeah.
So property taxes, it's just not going to get any better for rent. That means rent goes up. So we got to be really, I agree with Orville, we need to be really cognizant of that in a bad way.
This is a police review board, so logically I'm interested in that point of view. I don't really see that reflected in the values, so I would have liked to see something about we're committed to a safe community for our citizens and our children. That appears a little bit here, but it's all social. It has nothing to do with safety. It's really social stuff, which is nice, but it has nothing to do with the safety of our citizens and children. So I don't see any commitment to that here.
I appreciate that take. I would say we had a lot of conversations about what safety is, right, and how someone is safe. And I think the response that the police provide is one piece of that. Emergency response is one piece of that. But safety is also how you feel safe in your home, how you feel safe on your block, how you feel safe in your body, right? How you feel safe at your school and your workplace, how you feel safe interfacing with healthcare providers, how you feel safe, whatever it may be. So I think it's just that what you're seeing is a broader understanding of what makes someone feel safe and what provides safety for them than emergency response.
You didn't put that part that you said you referred to the police chief. That part is not here. Well, you referred to it.
I mean, I think the implementing and expanding innovative public safety and to improve outcomes and relationships.
Innovative public safety? Innovative public safety means that I could. What does that mean to me? I walk around the town, and I want to be safe. Where's the innovative part?
Well, that's a discussion that we're having at the council right now, right? Because
How about something similar to that? Well, would that be an appropriate place to share some of our concerns or discussions about that?
Sure.
As opposed to
Yeah.
this board, because that's
Yeah.
a little bit outside of our.
Yeah, and I think
kind of our
certainly
scope.
if what I would ask is that if you, through your role in reviewing the cases that you review, if you see elements of, both what officers are doing, but also how the community is responding, how people who are bringing complaints or people who you see officers interfacing with and you're watching a video or you're reading the reports, if there are things that you think can be improved or that you think hook into this plan, that would be really helpful feedback. And I realize that may take some time of kind of, looking at it that way, but we really appreciate hearing
And
that.
being able to have the time to read through the
Yeah,
whole thing.
exactly. Yeah.
And
I
that's-
don't read very fast.
And that's an area that I think we have to be careful, we have to be fair. You look at us, what we have here in our city, and then you look at what's happening in Des Moines, what's happening in the bigger cities.
Yeah.
Our forces are doing a lot more for us in terms of safety.
Right.
I guess the problem is that there is no perfect solution.
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah. Other thoughts or questions, reflections on what your board's role might be able to be in looking at this 5-year plan?
And I think everything that we do and falls into that last one.
Yeah.
We make sure that,
Last one.
racial equity, social justice, and human rights. By ensuring that police policies are fair, making recommendations when we think they're not fair, investigating complaints against officers, we're helping ensure that those 3 things are in place in our community.
Yes, and that part is important. But it has to be balanced also, not only fair to the officers, but also fair to the victims. So we want to make sure that we talk also about the victims, not just what officers do wrong. And we know we'll point that out. But we also want to, there's no room here for the victims. So in other words, I want something simple like this. I want to walk around town and I want to see kids walking around town safely, not innovatively, safely.
Saul, do you understand what happened yesterday by the State Attorney General?
With what?
The State Attorney General just cut off abortion and the morning after pills for rape victims.
Okay. That's your
No, that's safety. That's exactly what we're talking about right
That's
now.
out of order because this is not germane to our discussion here.
That's
So
it.
I'll
It
call
is
that out of
germane
order.
to the point that if you want your neighborhood to be safe, if you want to make sure that victims are
Madam
taken care
Chairman, I'll
of.
call that also out of order, please. This is politics, has nothing to do with what we're talking about here.
But you asked how we might help, and I guess at some point when you are ready to open this up and involve the public in it, in terms of discussion or meetings and things like that, I think at that point, we might be able to be a part of that.
And he point of order response, he wasn't trying to be political. He was saying that this is what happened and we're looking at underlying causes. And so that was his point.
I think we
Yes,
just
if
have-
somebody in Iowa City is raped and they go to the emergency room, they will not be provided with medication anymore. That is Iowa City safety. It came from the state, but it affects the people here. So that's where some of that innovation comes from. Like when we're faced with barriers to safety,
Right, and
we
that's,
do have to be
I think
innovative.
where we're going though is where
And
is,
that's
how is
included
that, it, absolutely, there's all kinds of discussions and things we could bring forward, but within the scope of what we're doing tonight, that's kind of gets us off topic.
Another
when-
direction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with any what you're saying. We just, I
It's
think we have to be a little careful.
And I think,
It is.
I think that the way we can be most helpful is as we get citizen complaints, then seeing what kind of issues came up with them otherwise. And it seems like that's a place for us to.
I think this is, I mean, for me, this is helpful to see it
Right.
like this and to think about it in that context. And then, think about going forward. I watch council meetings, what can I say? Not all the time, but, you know, thinking about how we can, you know, just things that we're aware of or how we can contribute, you know, and still stay within the scope of why we're here.
And I think the partnerships and engagement is something also that I know our department is really, you know, big in, and you had something in your packet with all the list of referral agencies.
We have a lot of them here.
So I think that's another opportunity to, you know, provide feedback and at least be aware of how we're doing that.
And I think we're very fortunate. I mean, we as the board have been given a charge. In most cities, it's like if they come up with something, they've got to go to the police chief and wait on the police chief to get back. Go to the city council, wait on the city council to get back. We're very fortunate. When we meet, we have the police chief and a representative from the city council. You know, so nothing's going to be perfect.
Right.
But at least I really feel that our city is going in the right direction because our city at least puts forth an effort.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that. And like you said, it's not going to be perfect. And like you said, Stuart, it's complicated, right? And if it were easy, it would be done, right? Like we would have figured this out by now. There's a lot of smart people in this room. So that really was the extent of my pitch. I ask you to just look through this and consider reading the longer plan. I think, Saul, you would find maybe some more of those action items about, you know, safety for children and what it means to be in a neighborhood and in a community in some of those, the more of the detail as well. So I take a look at that, and please just let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Tammy, do you need a copy for the
But
packet?
I do need to clean because I,
Yeah.
Did you write on it? I just drew a circle.
I hate it when I do that. I can't even draw.
That's why I haven't seen her.
I can't draw a stick man
That's
straight
all I
off the
need. I
ruler.
got the other ones. Thank you.
That's my problem.
I'm really bad at writing on boards because I write real small and I can't keep it straight without a line. There's nobody in the back.
I write it and then go this way.
Saul's got good handwriting.
My mom perfected that at the chocolate
I can't write on the board.
years to
You
make,
can't.
like she's.
So you want me to write it?
No, you just have good handwriting.
That's why I can never be a teacher. I can't write straight. Okay. And we were going to have a discussion about the financial budget.
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of money budgeted that we haven't spent. We have $10,000 for promoting awareness of the CPRB, but I was curious, have the new cards been printed yet? Because I don't see that taken out of our budget.
No, that was one thing we were discussing. We wanted, talking about other numbers that we want to put on there, and that obviously is something I want to bring forward to the board. I hadn't seen the approved budget yet, too, and we gave you those numbers, but that's something I can get to you by next meeting.
Okay,
So
awesome.
you guys can kind of have a say-so on what it looks like.
Okay, thank you. And then we have $100 for refreshments, right?
Yes, and
For
so that's,
the 20th?
yep, and I wanted to ask about that. Do you all want me to get those, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we asked
Yeah,
about
so-
that before. So what do you want? Is it $100, did you say? I looked at it, but I don't remember all the numbers right now. So what can you get for $100 to feed anywhere from 20 to 200 people? And who would like to be in charge of taking care of that?
Well, I probably will.
You will?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want help? I can feed people fairly cheaply. I know how to do stuff, so.
You know how to do stuff?
Is it legal?
You know, it is me. I got a guy, I know.
Well, generally we order, I don't know, do we have like, we have cookies, but then we should probably have,
Cookies and little water bottles.
and water
or something.
bottles, and then probably some fruit choices or some kind of healthy choice.
Bananas are cheap.
Protein cookies, there you go.
We want tasteful stuff.
I mean, are cookies okay? And then I guess I can just spend $100. I'm just wondering how much, how many and all that, but.
Yeah, definitely waters.
And where do you go to get this?
Usually we order from Hy-Vee, but it does not have to be that. It can be more of a local business somewhere. It's up to you guys. I have connections at the farmer's market. I could probably
That would
somebody
be,
there.
that would probably be good. I'd rather see it go local.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of
I actually
boycott
know,
it.
yep, someone there that we could call. And then super. Okay.
So you're going to help Tammy?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can probably just look at it.
Yeah.
But I'll reach out to you if I.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion about the budget?
Yeah, because still on the forum, this is actually pretty timely because we're kind of crunching down right now.
There is one thing that hasn't come off yet. We did put an ad in the newspaper.
Okay, you did do that.
And I think that was, gosh, I want to say close to $500. It was, and I don't have it in front of me if it was out last Saturday or this coming Saturday.
Okay, so is that our Press Citizen then? So
Yes.
that's been spent. Okay.
Yes.
And then I don't know how I never saw that this was all approved, but nobody else seemed to be aware of it either. I don't know if we missed a communication or.
It took Kelly
what,
some
but
digging to find that it had been approved.
It looks like we were approved for our live stream and hybrid Zoom meetings too, which I think is a huge accessibility piece. And we need to figure out what we need to do to get that started since we've been approved for it. City Council and the TRC are available on Zoom. I think every city board should be available on Zoom. We had a lot more public engagement when we were on Zoom during the earlier stages of the pandemic than we do now.
Okay.
How easy is that to set up?
I honestly don't know. I'll talk to Kelly about.
Shannon McMahon is the person.
Shannon McMahon.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's MCMAHON is how it's in
Yeah.
here. City Communication Coordinator.
Yeah.
She was the one that gave us the estimates for the cost
I will talk
when
to
we were
her.
creating the budget.
I'm thinking that cable TV probably sets it up, right? Yeah. So.
Just remember, if we're gonna be on Zoom and cable TV, we're gonna have to behave ourselves.
All right, I won't talk about peeing, okay?
You'd be surprised how
Amanda
many,
missed that
how
conversation.
many people
So-
watch public access TV. I was up in Northwest Iowa as a pastor. I got fan mail. I actually got a fan mail in a small town of about 2,000 people.
You're lucky it was family.
Yeah, I was very happy about that. But it's still, you'd be surprised.
I think the last thing I see on the budget that I wanted to talk about is the flyers and brochures. I know that we have some of those, but we had budgeted for more. And I'm still noticing that when I come in to watch video, I don't see any out in the police department. I thought we had talked about they're supposed to be in there.
We did. I'll check on that.
Okay, thank you.
And those have been updated somewhat too, and I've printed some for the forum, but I will make sure that you get those.
Okay. And that was all I had on that one. If anybody else had anything.
What else can we spend it on? I mean, where can we put the 10,000 to good use?
A lot of that is going to the Zoom and the hybrid. Like
Okay,
it was all
perfect.
broken down. If you look at the proposed.
Right, that's
Yeah.
right. That's why I was wondering. Thanks.
Because yeah, the Zoom accessibility and live streaming ends up being a little more than 2,500, and then the back of the
Right.
police cards. We're responsible for replacing the current cards,
Gotcha.
and then going forward, it comes out of the police budget. But replacing the current cards was estimated at being a little over 3,000. So
That's not
those
bad.
two things are where the bulk of it comes from.
Thanks.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, can you call the roll, please?
And we are doing that for,
Step 3.
Do we need to call roll for that? We
No.
just-
Okay.
page ahead, sorry. There you go.
Okay, for old business, we were going to review and discuss General Order 95-0 O2, the mission statement and department goals, objectives.
And I think you were the one who asked for that. You wanted to look further at the mission statement and how that plays a role in the core values.
Yeah, I was just curious because I think at the last meeting I had asked, well, you know, if we're working on this, what is it currently? What are, you know, where are we? And, you know, so then I think I missed the next meeting after that and then looking at the consent agenda item. I actually did go back and do a little digging on my own.
It's in your packet too.
Yeah,
Okay,
this time.
okay.
No, but, you know, so I did to kind of go, you know, think about what are some, you know, what are some ideas and options. So it was more, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, rather than just ask for input, what are we talking about? You know,
Well, as you've seen the document that was in your handout, the values, those don't look like values to me. That just looks like kind of some strategies or things like that. And it's not a coincidence that we brought up this discussion with the police department after the council had come up with their strategic plan that has values. So we want to make sure our values align with theirs. And we've been going through my staff with a long list. We've got a laundry list of things that they suggested, and I wanted to winnow it down. But I want that with your help, but also some things that you guys might have in mind as well, because I think this is a good board to do that with. So it's taking a lot longer than I thought, but that's fine. I mean, we're in no hurry. We want to get it right. And then when someone else comes in, they'll probably change it anyhow. But while I'm here, I want to get it right. And I wanted you guys to be part of that. I think that's the best way. And that would probably be something that would be good at the community forum as well, to talk about, you know, what the community wants their police department's values to be.
Okay, everything put that down for the next business.
I appreciate that because when I did it, I looked through, I mean, I even brought some, I stuck it in here from Association of Chiefs of Police. Mm-hmm. And even there, the examples are like extremes all over the place. To one I read, it was like everybody matters. That was it, you know, it was that short. And I thought, and then some of the other examples, so it seems like it's simple, but it is a lot more complicated and lengthy.
There's an organization out of Drake University that does, they have a set of values that I thought were interesting. Not necessarily would be 100% applicable to Iowa City, but they have like 6, they call them pillars, and then I can't remember what they are. I mean, I can remember what my former agencies are, but they're like, we revere the truth, and then it has a paragraph on what that means.
Definition of that.
What's that?
A clear definition of what that
exactly,
particular pillar is.
exactly. And we respect life. We value or respect our powers or things like that. You know, don't quote me on that. I've forgotten since I left that agency, but we used to have to memorize them. You know, so and again, guiding principles, because we can't policy and procedure everything away. We have to, and when an officer does something, when someone questions them, if they can't find a policy and procedure, in my former agency would say, well, this aligns with this value. This is why I made this decision, because it aligns with this value. And I think that's helpful when sometimes some officers may feel like I was kind of out on my own and I had to make a decision, and well, these decisions should be based upon these core values. And that's why I think those are very important, because they're not going to just be, I don't want it to just be, bumper sticker slogan or something like that. I want it to be important. I want there to be buy-in on it and feel like it's truly representative of the organization, but more importantly, the community, what the community expects of this organization.
Okay, so I made a note to add that to the forum agenda.
Okay, great. Okay, that's being added to the forum. And we'll ask again, I don't think anybody does right at the moment, have suggestions to add to the core values list for the chief. After forum.
I will send what I kind of briefly read through them. It was 2 meetings ago. I wasn't at the last meeting either, but I have probably 25 that have been suggested by our staff, and I didn't want to read every single one to you, but I think it's probably a good idea to get them sent to Tammy and get them.
Yeah, send them in the pack, the next month's packet.
That way
That'd be
you
awesome.
guys can take a look at them and see what you think, if some stand out, if there's some glaring omissions that you think, hey, this is something we need in this. So.
Are you thinking about implementing the Josephson exemplary policing? That was the Drake 6-pillar thing. Is that something you'd like to look at?
I like some of those. Some of those don't seem like a good fit.
Right, right.
But some of them do.
Okay.
And I like the way they went about it.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily have to be those, but I like that they have these 6 pillars. We don't have to have 6. And then they clearly define exactly what each of those mean.
Yeah, I just found it really quick, so I was just curious. Thanks. I'll take a look at that later.
Do you have a deadline, Chief? Soft or hard or
I don't,
aspirational?
and I need to do that. 'Cause let's see how this next month goes with the forum, and then after our next meeting, if you guys have some feedback, and then we're gonna have to set something. Otherwise, we'll just stand.
Keep, mushing it back.
And then we have the letter from, and referral list from Captain Brotherton. Does anybody have any discussion or questions about that? It's massive. I think we got every place.
Yeah, no, that's what really impressed me about our county, in Iowa City, the amount of resources that are out there. But I do have to say this, recently, community has gone just straight mental health. They used to list out resources of these for the public, but they are not doing that anymore. They're just strictly focusing on mental health and suicide hotline and those kind of things. So, at least that's what somebody who tried to go there for resources told me recently. So
they have 2 different locations now. Their food bank is at the Pepperwood Plaza.
right, and but the one on Southgate used to be a place where they would talk about resources too as well. I was really surprised to hear that they didn't anymore. That it was just mental health. So
Interesting.
that's something I kind of wanted to get clarification on, like all of them as well, because that was a very big shock to me as somebody who used to work there. That was something we used to do. So.
They used to have the big resource packets.
Yeah.
When you walked in the door.
Yeah, that's what I thought they had.
Anything else on that subject? Yes.
If I may, a question through the chair to the police chief. The letter from the captain is in response to some concern I've brought about the incidents, the number of incidents of a person being called upon by the police and the resources dedicated to that person alone. And so the concern was about how could it happen so many times with all of these supposed help that we have. I don't expect an answer, but that was the impetus for the letter.
Yep.
So I hope that somewhere in the goals or the values is to cooperate with the social agencies to ensure that the person's safety, but also the victim's safety, and that there's proper guidance toward these agencies to prevent recurrence.
Right.
So once they refer someone, the agency cannot give the police department any information. That's all private. So what you want is ideal, but at this point, social agencies keep confidentiality.
My concern is like within the context is to make sure that the police follows up on these agencies. That's it. What they do is another question.
So you're asking to have the agencies take care of the repeat offenders, and then you want the police to recheck in with that offender?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that
Referrals are being
that the police
prioritized.
follows up on contact these agencies.
Okay.
We have all these resources, so.
So in other words, the police ain't being involved in this guy,
Right.
all
but
the time.
But we want the police to recheck on the referrals. Is that what you're asking?
I don't know
or-
whether this is within their purview. I'm just saying that I want to make sure that if the referral were proper, that there wouldn't be a recurrence of these incidents to the
So
extent that they
some
have.
of our referrals, where we can, are like warm handoffs. Like, we're not just handing someone, here's a list of useful numbers, see you later. We are trying to do that warm handoff, and some of them we can, some of them we can't. And as I'm sure Captain Brotherton explained, we can't many of the calls we get called on are not crimes, so arresting isn't an option. And then we can't force them to receive services. Sometimes arresting is an option, but sometimes that's not always the best option. So we try to engage all that list, which is still not complete, that list of agencies, and we have really good relationships with them, but GuideLink is a perfect example. We can't make a person go to the GuideLink. GuideLink is an open facility, and we use it all the time.
Yeah, you call us all the time.
But it's not. But many of the people that we're involved with aren't often good fits for GuideLink, for example. That's just one example. There's many examples because it's a voluntary thing. It's not a locked facility. They can walk right out, and in some cases they do. And then we don't often get return calls from GuideLink because they do a wonderful job. But sometimes things are just outside of their control. But I can tell you it's a frustration for us as well when we constantly deal with the same people over and over again, and that's what we're working with, trying to figure out better solutions to help those people. But sometimes we get calls, it comes in as a subject disturbing. That can be anything. It can be anything. And when we get there, sometimes it is a crime. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a crime of trespassing, but the business owner or the caller just wants them to be asked to leave. We do that, they leave, and sometimes they come back. And then say we okay, they finally done something that is going to cause them to get arrested. We arrest them, and then they get released, or and that's frustrating for us too. But that's not our system. We're only one little piece of this. And again, we try to get people the services they need because we don't want to keep coming back and we don't want to keep dealing with them. And also worrying about, someone called the police for some reason, or called 911 or whatever, so we want to make sure they get what they asked for as well. Like, hey, I'm worried about this person's safety, or this person is causing a disturbance, and can you help out? And we try to help out in the most efficient way possible, and what's best for everyone involved, including the person who may be in crisis or who was the reason for the call. Does that make sense? It's tough. It's very frustrating. I can tell you that there is a group of people that the officers deal with all the time, and I know the names.
Frequent flyers.
Yeah.
We have them.
Yeah, and we're just trying to get these people help, and then we've got thousands of success stories too. The street outreach that we work with Shelter House, they're playing the long game. Someone calls us and say, we've got this issue with someone here, and street outreach builds relationships and over months gets these people housed, and we've noticed a difference in that. We've noticed a huge difference. Some of those frequent flyers have gotten the help that they need. Now, some of them haven't, some of them won't, but it's still been a wonderful program. So that's one of the things. And that was a learning process for us. I think it was a learning process for some of the businesses downtown. Like, hey, wait, we called the police. Well, how come this problem wasn't solved immediately? Well, because they weren't breaking a law, or if they were, we remedied it by, and then 2 months later, 3 months later, they got into permanent housing. And, we were getting phone calls like, you haven't solved the problem, you haven't solved the problem. And
so I have a question for you, just off the top of your head, if you know, what most offenses I'm assuming in public safety are misdemeanors. So how many misdemeanors do you issue before actually citations for actually felonies?
Well, that has nothing, we don't have the ability to enhance.
Right.
That's all state code stuff.
Right.
There are some things that multiple convictions result in an enhancement. Again, outside of our, if we go to maybe some theft, repeated theft, and theft can start to get up there.
But most of the lower crimes that people get that the police call for are minor and they're misdemeanors. Usually, the more serious ones, that's when the felonies. If we could fix the more misdemeanor people, where the more petty crime happens and stuff like that, that would be the better focus as well, I think, because there's a lot of that.
I have a question related to the CPRB budget. Here it says assess to a social worker / medical professional with trauma awareness training for purpose of assessing complainant throughout the complaint process. And then besides it says to be determined.
Yeah, that was because the School of Social Work could not give me anyway a rate of what it would cost. They said it would depend on the severity of the case and it would depend on how long it took. So until I could give the, what our length of case would be, they won't give us any. I tried.
Okay.
Okay, community forum discussion.
So I think this was going to be a little dress rehearsal. Right. So, I think it's up to you guys to all decide, but I do have it's a very basic agenda. So obviously, first thing will be you'll call the meeting to order with roll call, welcome and introduction of board. Consider a motion to accept correspondence. So that'll be the emails that we received or any other communication. And then somebody needs to talk about the board as far as who we are and what we do. And then the public discussion, an adjournment, but we also need to talk about who's going to write the summary of the meeting. Or you need to.
And also, we need a place where we're going to introduce the chief.
Okay. Well, I would think that would introduction of board and staff, I suppose it should say.
So, question. Who here's been an actual community forum in person?
Not in person.
Repeat.
They were on Zoom my first couple years.
Okay. I'm just thinking through, because I'm going through, in my head, you walk in the room, you're sitting at the back, you're not going to be at the front, there's going to be a table up front, everybody's got a mic, or we share mics.
Right.
And go through, including Pat up front. Chief, I don't know whether you want to sit in the audience, front row, kind of that whole thing, the layout. And then typically the chair starts with, calling the meeting to order and that kind of thing. So we kind of just, so we get there and, we're going to have to sit in the front of the room and, there'll be chairs,
I have a question also. Are the questions going to be stated that night, or are we just taking the written?
Oh no, it's gonna be a conversation between you and the.
Okay.
That's like the one time we're actually allowed to respond when somebody says something to us, when we're actually all together.
Nice.
Okay.
Do you need more of that? I mean, I feel like. So, okay, so somewhere on here I will add the item on the agenda that we just talked about with the chief, the core values and such. But otherwise, it's up to you guys to talk about it.
Someone had suggested having a tablet up front so people could write their questions. But if we're going to get verbal, I guess,
That's the other part, because people have to come up and sign in.
right? I've got that sign-in
You
sheet.
got that, the sign-in sheet, so when they come up to ask the question, it'd be similar to a council meeting. They, you know, they come up, would sign in and would ask their question, the limit to
3
5
minutes.
minutes, like how all that works.
Did you say 3 minutes?
I say 3 minutes.
That's what you didn't
Sorry.
say a whole lot in 3 minutes.
Yep. Make it short, 3
So,
minutes each.
you know, just that process works. So the introductions, I mean, is who each other, I was thinking through that, you know, how just making sure that the more kind of conversational we are and try to make it not stiff and formal, I mean, the
And-
better that's gonna be.
So somebody, I think, will need to explain to the audience how that's gonna work. And when you talk about 3 minutes, at council meeting, the council is not in discussion with that person. So
Yeah.
you may need more than 3 minutes, but.
I think we should set an end time for the event and not just have it until it's over with.
It hasn't really
I
been a
don't think
problem,
we-
has it, Pat? In the in-persons, I mean,
What about, can we have a sheet like that for people to pick up when they come in, so they, the table of contents, like,
Yeah, I mean, sure, they'll have the agenda.
okay. And we can put the 3 minutes on that.
You guys have to agree on that 3 minutes. I don't know if that's enough.
You know, it's only going on for 10 minutes, and then people
I
don't
don't-
get to talk.
I don't really think it's gonna be a big issue.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be, if you're having a two-way discussion though,
Yeah.
I don't think.
I mean,
you can
somebody, people are
put a
gonna
timer
walk
on
up,
it.
as I recall, you say you need to sign in, they need to sign in, so they stop, and you need to let them do that, and so, you know, it's, you know, so if it gets a little off track, then we just steer it back.
Okay, do you have the sign-in of the table where we're sitting, or is it someplace else?
It's actually where the microphone is.
Oh, okay, okay.
Can we also have brochures at that event in
Yeah.
case anybody wants to take something?
Yep, they're already ready to go.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. I just thought it was worth when you asked me last time about the,
Because I haven't been to an I mean, I just, yeah, last year's was,
man, I'm feeling old. You were there, Pat.
I've been to meetings
You
where it
and I
was
were
He
both
was a
there.
sacrificial lamb.
everybody was there, and I've also been to meetings where there were a lot of people there,
Yes.
a lot of questions
Yes.
asked, and a lot of upset people, and a lot of questions pointed to the chief. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Any of all
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I think it's helpful that you're, you know, if you're gonna be there, because questions come up and people don't always clearly understand. You know, it's part of why they're there, what's within our purview and what isn't, what we can answer and what we can't. Obviously, by the questions that were already submitted, you know. So it's another forum that people could ask a question, and if we flat out can't answer it, then we can redirect them. But you're right, there's been times there's been nobody, and there's been times there's been everything from bus schedules to,
Yeah, who knows? And maybe the weather will have a lot to do with it.
yeah.
It's
I just
really
don't
nice,
want to
maybe they don't want
hijack
to
your
show up.
meeting. What I'm,
We won't let you.
because if I sit up there, I think it'll turn into, this is a question and answer session with the chief, which if that's what you want, I'm fine, but I think this is more, at least the way I understand it from the two I've been to, more an opportunity for you all to explain what it is this board does. And I'm more than happy to help with questions, but I just don't want it be all about me.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's gonna MC it from the board then?
yeah.
Well,
Chair or vice chair?
well, the chair usually calls the meeting to order and starts. If we could just, maybe we could sit
Go
next
back
to each
and
other
forth.
and all.
Yeah. Sit together.
Yeah.
It would be handy to have a timekeeper to not let it go on for a while, though. I mean,
If it gets,
it's because I can see stuff getting out of hand, out of track. I mean, we're more increasingly in a heated environment when it comes to interaction. So, we're just you know, plan for every contingency.
Ricky, you gonna miss this?
I think I'm gonna be there just to watch the clown show.
You're gonna skip Ireland.
Are you,
No, I'm gonna be, I can probably, at the 20th, I can be here, yeah.
Are you gonna be singing? Yeah, just want to make sure
You
we
are
have
going to
music.
be here on the 20th?
Yes.
Oh, you told us that's
26.
what
I
you
know, I meant
Okay.
26.
Chief,
So you will be here, okay.
for city council meetings, is there any check for weapons?
No.
No, okay.
Maybe I won't be there.
I was concealed is an open carry? No, yeah, you can open carry as long as you take classes.
I know.
You don't even need a license anymore.
No, I did get the classes, but I wanted more practice with the sidearm before I even think about taking one.
Good idea.
Yeah, military.
Excuse me, I'm gonna have to leave.
Okay,
And then you need to decide who's going to write the summary of the meeting. Horrible.
Hello, Brendan.
so,
Tammy's looking at me and she's smiling.
No, I'm not looking at you for that reason.
About this, not it, was it not it?
I'm looking at you to assign somebody. No, I'm just kidding.
no, I'd rather have a volunteer to write up a summary following the forum. Volunteer. I don't want to assign somebody.
Well, Saul did it last year, so you're probably off the hook. No, I'm just kidding.
The summary then goes to the next meeting to be approved by, or do we just write it up, you look at it and say it's good?
No, no, it's a.
I'll nominate Jerry.
I have a lot of medical tests coming up, so I don't know what, my time frame is going to be, but thank you for thinking of me.
You're taking the notes.
Normally
Is that
pretty
correct?
quick to volunteer for write-ups, but it's kind of a really crunch time for me. Would it be due by May 1st?
Well, I believe, so the next meeting would be that second Tuesday, and I usually send a packet out
May 9th.
Thursday before. So what would that be, like May?
Here's my question though, if you're not taking any notes at the forum?
I mean, I probably will, but it's not my responsibility to take
So
enough notes. So
I'm just,
no,
if you
I'm
took
not
enough
giving you notes to, I
Oh,
won't
okay.
have notes enough for you to write your summary from that.
Right,
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
that's where I was going. I was thinking about
Yeah.
being a board member and then on top of it, trying to take the minutes and do the write-up and.
Well, and I
put down
will
some
still
basic
do
notes.
minutes, but one of you will do a summary.
Oh, there will be minutes?
There are minutes from it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty certain that I saw that.
It's considered a meeting of the board, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do it.
And I don't think there's
Amanda, between
anything
you
that
and I.
requires it to be
Okay.
presented at the next meeting.
Amanda and I will do it.
I feel like they didn't have to be approved.
I
'Cause
think
they go
should
to
be reviewed,
council.
but I don't think
Yeah.
it has to be at the next meeting.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep.
So if we did need a little more time, it could be June's
Right.
meeting. Okay, I feel a lot better about that then.
Well, I
I'll
don't
try
know
to
that-
have it done by May's,
Yeah,
but
I don't know that for sure, but if Pat says so, I'm good with that. And I'll just ask Kelly if that's okay.
We're going to give
I
everybody some
will-
responsibility.
I'll let you know, and then I can also send you some past ones to kind of give you an idea, I guess.
thank you, Melissa. And thank you, Tim.
Okay. Are we ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Does the public have anything they would like to say? No.
There's one person. Hi! Hi, public, how's it going?
Okay, do you have anything to share?
This is not your on-board information. So just you're
Oh,
asking the
sorry.
board, but
I
I don't
skipped.
when you get there.
Does anybody have board information they would like to share?
The only thing I have to share is that, depending on what happens with my appointment for full-time ministry, I may be gone as of July. So, because I may be placed in Solon, but I wouldn't be a member of the community anymore. So, more than likely, the next couple of months are gonna be my last. So, I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't have any idea yet. The Methodist Church has been batting me around like a cat with little ball toys. But Hopefully I'll have
We
more
won't be
information
shocked.
soon, yeah.
Right. And you don't have anything for staff?
I do not.
Okay. We already agreed to this earlier, but we'll do it again. Tentative meeting schedule and future agendas. April 20th at the Community Forum, Iowa City Library, Meeting Room A. And then May 9th at 5:30 here. June 13th at 5:30 here. And July 11th at the meeting room here.
And Ricky, did you say you'd be absent from May 9th?
Yes, I'll have it here.
I'm gonna be out of town both the June and July dates, but I can get somebody from my office to fill in. So you don't need to reschedule
Are you
for
taking
that.
some well-deserved vacation? Good man. Good man.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
We didn't, you gotta,
There weren't any changes.
you're right.
Nope.
I'm catching on here.
I'll second that.
Moving on. Okay, Amanda, you moved, and you
I'll
seconded.
second it.
And all those in favor?
Oh, yeah. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, okay.
Get those.
Okay, I need a motion to summarily,
Summarily.
thank you, dismiss complaint 2303.
2304.
2304. I'll make a motion to dismiss
Oh, I
complaint
apologize. Yep, I had a typo there. That should be
2304.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I just read what I just said. Okay, I will,
Hold on just a second. Now that we're back in regular session, don't you have to
Yes.
do
Yeah,
something with, I'm sorry, it's not on here, but
The 2211.
about 2211 and 2212.
Can we do them both at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
So we need to do the level of review and open and our
That's it.
So I move to set the level of review for 2211 and 2212 to 887B1A.
Second.
all in favor?
Has it been seconded?
Yes.
Yes.
We have three of them.
Yeah, the whole table
You did the
seconded that.
second, okay.
Okay, now, I will take a motion to adjourn.
No, we
still
got
gotta
it.
do,
I move to
What-
set, I remove to say
Samar-
complaint 2211 and 2212 to both be not sustained.
Second.
hold on. Now it's the other turn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I move to
now
adjourn.
I need I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'd like to co-sponsor that. You can do that.
You can co-sponsor.
Co-sponsor.
Co-sponsored by.
Okay, we're adjourned.